Nike's Beaverton campus has never seen anything like this. Caitlin Clark, women's basketball's unstoppable force, has turned the headquarters into her personal empire. Her face on every wall, her logo everywhere, and executives clearing schedules when she walks in. Her 2026 signature shoe promises technology Nike has never dared to try. But how does a girl from Des Moines, once cut from a USA team, rise to command the world's biggest sports brand? This is Clarkonomics. Talent, grit, and innovation colliding like the game has never seen. Born into battle. Caitlin Clark didn't discover competition. She was born directly into it.
And here's the Caitlin Clark effect, Morgan, with Maria Fassi and other players out here following.
That's good. A lot of fun.
Her childhood wasn't filled with participation trophies and gentle encouragement designed to protect fragile egos. It was filled with older brothers, athletic cousins, and weekends that revolved entirely around sports. If there was a ball involved, there was a scoreboard. And if there was a scoreboard, Caitlin wanted to win. That instinct showed up long before anyone could have predicted what it would eventually become. Her parents remember those early days with perfect clarity. Recreational soccer leagues, recreational basketball on courts with tiny hoops, uniforms that swallowed her small frame, and this kid, barely old enough to tie her own shoes properly, pulling up from the free throw line on a 6-foot basket like it was the most natural motion in the world. In soccer, she simply ran past everyone and scored whenever she wanted. In basketball, she already possessed that killer instinct to take the shot, to demand the ball when the outcome hung in the balance. The competitive fire burned hot from the very beginning. It just needed somewhere to grow. That somewhere turned out to be her own driveway. For years, Caitlin tagged along with her older brother and his friends, inserting herself into their pickup games well into elementary school, and then continuing into middle school, much longer than most girls would have tolerated the punishment. These boys were bigger, stronger, faster, and meaner on the court. They gave her absolutely nothing for free. No easy baskets, no sympathy calls, no allowances for age or size. She lost constantly, and every single time she lost, she cried. Not because she lacked toughness, because she genuinely could not comprehend why she wasn't winning. Her parents grew exhausted by the tears. Her mother finally delivered a message that was simple and brutal and would shape everything that followed in Caitlin's life. If you want to play with them, you've got to find a way to hold your own. That's it. No special treatment coming. No sympathy forthcoming. No shortcuts available. Figure it out yourself or accept getting left behind. That moment forged the edge that would define her career. The competitive fire that would later manifest as logo threes and dagger step backs and ice-cold stares at opposing benches.
Brings it all. Another missed layup, and Caitlin Clark is hurt.
Started right there. A second grader refusing to accept being the weak link in her brother's driveway games. She couldn't get bigger or stronger overnight. So she got smarter instead. She got craftier. She developed the ability to see plays before they happened, to find angles that size and strength couldn't close. She learned the most important lesson of her basketball life in that driveway. If she couldn't beat them physically, she would beat them mentally, every single time. By 6th grade, the stakes escalated dramatically when Caitlin entered the AAU circuit with All-Iowa Attack.
On these Caitlin Clark threes, it's just ridiculous.
A program known for producing elite talent, including future NBA champion Harrison Barnes. Now it wasn't neighborhood kids anymore. It was the best young players from across the entire country. The fire that failure built. But the rise wasn't a straight line. Success never is for anyone who achieves something truly remarkable. The setbacks matter as much as the victories, because they reveal what someone is actually made of when things fall apart. One summer as a rising junior, Caitlin showed up to USA basketball tryouts expecting to make the team. She had every reason for confidence. She'd been on the roster the year before. She had a gold medal. She knew the coaches, knew the system, knew her teammates. This was supposed to be routine. She didn't make the final cut. The details made it worse. She hurt her pinky during training camp, but kept playing, trying to push through. Her performance suffered. She played poorly by her own standards. When the roster was announced, her name wasn't on it. She had to watch her former teammates celebrate while she processed what had just happened. She'll tell you it was one of the lowest points of her basketball career, going from gold medalist to cut in 12 months.
Caitlin Clark, as you said it, wins the Naismith Award for the best player in America.
Watching from the outside while the team moved on without her. That kind of rejection breaks some athletes. It plants seeds of doubt that never fully disappear. They start playing cautious, protecting themselves from the next disappointment, never quite trusting their own abilities again. Caitlin Clark responded the only way she knew how. She treated the rejection like gasoline poured directly onto an already raging fire. You can see the pattern that would define her entire career crystallizing in that moment. Get knocked down, get angrier, get better. Come back and make everyone who doubted you watch while you prove them wrong. By the time college recruiting reached its peak, Clark could have gone almost anywhere in the country. Blue blood programs were calling, legendary coaches were flying to Iowa just to sit in her living room. Her final three choices came down to Iowa, Iowa State, and Notre Dame. National brands with massive platforms and resources that could launch her toward professional stardom. But for all the hype surrounding her recruitment, her reasoning stayed surprisingly grounded. She wanted to be close to her family. She wanted coaches she trusted. She wanted people who had demonstrated genuine commitment to her, not just interest in her talent. Iowa had Lisa Bluder, the winningest coach in Big Ten history.
Lisa Bluder is the head coach of women's basketball at the University of Iowa. She joins us now from Iowa City. Great to have you with us.
They had Jan Jensen, an assistant who flew halfway around the world to watch Caitlin play with USA Basketball in person. That kind of effort mattered. It showed something that phone calls and glossy brochures couldn't communicate. It showed they would go to extraordinary lengths for her. The decision wasn't some Hollywood signing day shocker with hat switches and dramatic reveals. It just felt right. The most hyped recruit in women's college basketball chose to stay home. And from day one in Iowa City, there was no easing in period, no freshman learning curve. She stepped on campus and the ball was hers. Starting point guard, franchise player from the opening tip, controlled chaos. The collision was inevitable from the moment she stepped on campus. On one side stood Lisa Bluder, a Hall of Fame coach who had spent decades building championship-caliber programs on structure, discipline, and systematic execution. Every play had a purpose. Every possession followed principles that had been refined through years of experience at the highest level. On the other side stood Caitlin Clark, a controlled chaos machine whose best basketball sometimes materialized 28 feet from the basket with two defenders draped all over her and the shot clock showing plenty of time for a better look. People close to the Iowa program will tell you freshman year had its moments of friction, not toxic conflict that threatened to tear anything apart. Competitive friction, the kind that happens when a legendary coach tries to shape a generational talent within a proven system, while that generational talent can only play basketball as herself. Bluder wanted discipline. Clark played on instinct. Bluder wanted structure. Clark created art from improvisation, the push and pull of two strong personalities figuring out how to coexist without either one compromising what made them successful. But here's what separated this situation from so many others, where coach and star never find common ground. When the ball went up, you couldn't hold that horse back. And Bluder was smart enough to recognize what she had. She didn't try to cage the lightning. She built a system around it. As a freshman, Caitlin didn't just post respectable numbers for a first-year player learning the college game. She took the entire Big Ten Conference by storm from opening night. She led the nation in scoring as an 18-year-old playing against grown women who had spent years developing their games. She won Big Ten Freshman of the Year in a landslide. She became the first freshman in history to win the Dawn Staley Award, given annually to the best guard in the country, regardless of class.
Another award for Caitlin Clark. She's been named the winner of the Dawn Staley Award given to the nation's top point guard.
Let that sink in. First year of college basketball, best guard in America. The game that looked impossibly fast and physical for everyone else looked slow and predictable to her. She saw passes before defenders knew they were open. She recognized defensive rotations before they started. She played like someone who had already been there for years. Her sophomore year was supposed to represent the next evolution. Fans returned to arenas in full force after the pandemic seasons had kept buildings empty or limited. People across the country started tuning into Iowa games specifically to see what she would do next. Games transformed from basketball events into cultural moments that transcended sports. She kept stacking numbers that looked like video game outputs, with the difficulty sliders turned all the way down. Deep threes from distances that made opposing coaches physically wince on the sideline. Assists that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Stat lines that belonged in fantasy leagues where points came cheap. She added more hardware to her collection. Dawn Staley Award again because nobody else deserved it. Big Ten Player of the Year because the conference had never seen anything quite like her. But March is cruel to those who expect happy endings simply because they've earned them through regular season dominance. In 2022, Iowa was stunned at home by 10-seed Creighton in the second round of the NCAA tournament.
Scored the last 9 points for Creighton, none bigger than that three-pointer.
Sold-out Carver Hawkeye Arena. 15,000 fans who had shown up expecting to celebrate a deep tournament run. Dreams of Final Four glory evaporated in 40 brutal minutes. The building that had hosted so many magical nights fell completely silent as the final buzzer echoed off the rafters. For most players, that kind of loss represents heartbreak that fades with time. Another season ended too soon. You grieve, you heal, and you move on. For Caitlin Clark, it was something else entirely. It was fuel. Another massive log thrown onto that fire she had been feeding since the driveway days, when her brother's friends wouldn't let her win. Clarkonomics. By now, Caitlin Clark had transcended basketball stardom. She had become an economic force with her own vocabulary. People started calling it Clarkonomics, and the term wasn't hyperbole. A nonpartisan research group estimated that in 1 year alone, she helped generate over $50 million of economic impact for the state of Iowa. Tickets, hotels, restaurants, local businesses are miles from any arena. It wasn't just the building where she played. It was entire cities experiencing surges in activity whenever her schedule brought crowds to town. Ticket prices for her games reached levels that embarrassed some NBA playoff matchups.
Scrambling, double teamed again, back out to Durant, shot clock at 2, Durant's got to put it up, gets it off in time.
Fans were spending hundreds of dollars just to sit in buildings where she might pull up from the logo. Signs appeared in arenas across the country. I flew in from Boston just to see Caitlin Clark. Drove 10 hours for Caitlin. People who didn't know the difference between a 2-3 zone and a zipper cut suddenly knew one thing. That Iowa guard who shoots from impossible distances is must-see television. The broadcast numbers confirmed what the sold-out arenas already proved. She wasn't just popular within women's basketball circles. She was a mainstream sports attraction, drawing audiences that crossed demographic boundaries that had seemed permanent. Young fans, old fans, basketball diehards, casual viewers who just wanted to see what everyone was talking about. The debate started immediately. Is she the greatest we've ever seen? That's what happens when your routine looks like everyone else's once-in-a-lifetime moment. Analysts started throwing comparisons around. Kobe Bryant with a ponytail, the female Steph Curry. But comparisons sell her short. She doesn't need to be the female version of anyone. She's Caitlin Clark. With the first pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever selected her to the surprise of absolutely no one.
With the first pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, the Indiana Fever select Caitlin Clark, University of Iowa.
It was the least surprising, yet most consequential pick in years. Overnight, a struggling franchise that had been an afterthought became the center of the basketball universe. Expectations weren't fair. They were impossible. People wanted miracles immediately. Sellouts, wins, viral highlights. A complete franchise turnaround in weeks. She delivered some of it right away. The logo threes came with her. The ridiculous passes came with her. So did the cameras, the ticket demand, the broadcast numbers that kept climbing. But the WNBA wasn't going to hand her anything. Welcome to the league. From her very first professional game, Defenses were physical in ways college basketball rarely prepared anyone for. Sometimes the contact crossed lines from aggressive into reckless. Hard bumps away from the ball, hits on drives that felt more like hockey checks. Welcome to the league fouls that seemed designed to send messages rather than contest shots. Some veteran players embraced her arrival. They recognized what her presence meant for the league's visibility and economic future.
These teams very willing and capable of pushing in transition and scoring quickly.
Here's Clark working around Fletcher. Caitlin Clark has Iowa on the board first.
Others rolled their eyes. They called her a media creation. They argued she needed championships before she deserved respect. Critics lined up with talking points that had nothing to do with basketball. Overhyped, pretty privileged. Other phrases designed to diminish rather than evaluate. Suddenly, a 22-year-old rookie wasn't just running pick and rolls and trying to learn a new system. She was positioned at the center of culture wars she never asked to join. Every game became content for debate shows. Every hard foul became a national controversy. Every bad shooting night became evidence for critics who had already decided their conclusions before watching a single minute of her professional career. Meanwhile, the results weren't immediate. Indiana had the #1 pick for a reason. They were bad before she arrived. They didn't have the supporting talent that championship teams require. Wins were hard to find. Every mistake got magnified. Every loss became a segment on sports television. There were difficult nights, games where nothing fell, moments of visible frustration that cameras captured and replayed endlessly. One clip showed her sitting on the bench after a brutal first half, clearly struggling with the adjustment. Her teammate, Aaliyah Boston, came over and poured encouragement into her. "It's supposed to be hard. This is an adjustment period. We have your back." That's what leadership looks like when someone needs it most. But inside the grind, something familiar was happening. The same pattern that had defined her entire life was repeating. She was learning, adjusting, taking the hits and watching the film, figuring out new reads against professional defenders, building chemistry with Boston, dropping her first WNBA triple-double, hitting her first true professional logo bomb from distances that made commentators gasp. Each game, more flashes of the killer who had torched college defenses started appearing. The reads got faster. The shot selection got smarter. The understanding of professional spacing and timing sharpened. Through it all, she maintained the same perspective she'd carried since Iowa. She told reporters she gets just as much joy throwing a really good pass as she does making a logo three. Not a diva demanding touches. Not a victim complaining about treatment. Just a hooper figuring out the next level of her craft. Bigger than basketball. Here's the truth that extends beyond statistics and highlight reels. Caitlin Clark doesn't just change box scores. She changes expectations for an entire sport. She's forcing people to rethink what women's basketball can look like, what it can feel like, what it can earn. She's demonstrating that women can play with the same passion, swagger, and edge that audiences have celebrated in male athletes for decades. The joy, the fire, the trash talk, the shot selection that makes you question her sanity until the ball drops through the net and you realize she knew exactly what she was doing. That combination is pulling kids into gyms and driveways across the country. Boys and girls trying to copy her release, trying to pull from the logo like she does, trying to find that same fearlessness she carries every time she touches the ball. And she's doing all of it without becoming anyone other than herself. She doesn't need to be the female version of Steph Curry or Kobe Bryant. She's Caitlin Clark, the little girl from Des Moines who wrote WNBA on a piece of paper in 2nd grade.
Caitlin Clark is all about the kids, and after Tuesday's win over Wisconsin, well, one lucky fan from Dubuque came back with a lifelong memory.
And then spent the next 2 decades doing everything in her power to turn that childhood doodle into reality. Right now, her story is still being written. There will be more records, more sold-out arenas, more viral nights that remind everyone why they fell in love with watching her play. There will also be more hard fouls, more bad shooting nights, more criticism, more pressure. That's the cost of playing with the spotlight turned all the way up. But if there's one pattern from her life that predicts anything, it's this. She gets knocked down, she gets better. She comes back with something new. From crying over recreational league losses, to to getting cut from USA basketball, to getting upset at home in the NCAA tournament, to carrying a state, a program, and now a professional league on her shoulders. She has always answered doubts with work. She has always responded to failure by becoming someone failure couldn't touch. Caitlin Clark isn't just rewriting the record books. She's rewriting the rules of the game itself. Every step she takes on the court forces the sport to confront its own limitations, its own assumptions, its own future. But the real question isn't what she can do, it's how far the rest of the world is willing to go to keep up. Will the game evolve with her, or will it fall behind, chasing shadows while she defines what's possible? The next chapter hasn't been written yet, but one thing is certain: you won't want to blink when it does.